and welcome to Artshed. I'm Kathy, and in this video we're going to be learning how to draw and paint our duck run watercolour project. We're going to be doing this in two parts. In the first part we'll learn how to draw it, and in the second part we'll learn how to paint it. So for this first part, all you're going to need is a pencil, a rubber and some sheets of ordinary paper to practice on. So let's have a look at what's going on in our picture. I've got a family of ducks out for a run. I put 5 ducks in my picture because I've got 5 people in my family. You might have more or less, but this is your picture, so you can put as many as you like in. I've got a lovely duck house, which I think is quite luxurious, on a pond. And I've got all these lovely reflections going on, which is what I'm going to teach you to paint later on. I've set it at sunrise, so it's quite early morning. And I've got all these lovely reflections of the sky going on in the water. So seeing that the ducks are our main characters, I think that's where we'll start. So get your practice sheets of paper ready and we'll practice learning how to draw a couple of the different ducks. So this is my daddy duck, and as you can see he's got a nice long straight line down his back. So that's going to be the place that we start. Let's have a go at drawing this duck. So at this point, don't worry about how big your duck is. We just want to get familiar with the shapes. So I'm going to start with my duck's head. Near the top of your paper, I'm going to put in a rainbow shape. And then I'm going to remember the straight line that I saw. And I'm going to imagine how far down I want it to go. I think it will go to about here. And then I'm going to put in my straight line, which is down the back of my duck because he's leaning forward slightly. And then I'm going to go back up to his head, and right under my rainbow I'm going to put another little mini rainbow, which is going to be his chin. And from there I'm going to do a bit of a neck, which is just like that. And then while we're here, we could put his beak on, couldn't we? So his beak, we're going to bring that down a little bit like that. And then his beak, we get one line that way, one line that way, and then put on his beak. So back to his body. I know that his neck, I need his tummy to start coming out, curving round, and to join the end, little tail there. So I'm going to curve, start to come out, go round and join that bit there. And then I'm going to put his wing on, which is going to start from about here. And then as you come down, you can go zigzag back up again, down, zigzag back up, down, and then you'll have the sort of feathery marks. Let's put his legs on. So his back leg is going to come out here. So that's, and we're going to do this one first because I think it's an easier shape. So this one is going to come out the other side of his body. And it's kind of like a paddle shape. Like if you were to go rowing or something, it's a paddle shape. And then this one's at a slightly different angle. Goes out that way, back that way, and joins his leg. Put his eye in. So there we go. Have a go at practicing that shape and then we'll move on to the next one. So here's our next one. As you can see, he's running a lot faster. You can still see the rainbow shape there and the long straight line, but it's just at a different angle. So let's have a go at drawing him. Again, put your rainbow shape where you want your duck to start. And if we remember, the straight line this time is it's not going straight down like the other one. It's going to go more that way. So I'm going to put in my marker again where I want his body to go to. And then here, got my straight line. It's going to go all the way to that end bit. Back to the head and his little rainbow under his chin. And his neck. And then let's put in his beak again. So if you remember that line, and his beak. Put in his eye as well. So we want that tummy to start coming out and joining the tail. So it's all the same shape, just at a different angle. So here we go. We're going to start coming out a bit for his tummy. Round he goes and joins the end there. And we put in his wing. And then this one, because he's kind of running and flapping, we can see his other wing, and that comes from behind and then just zigzags along like that. Now his legs are the back leg's slightly different to the other one. So again, let's put on first bit of the leg, that one that way, and this one this way. And the front one's very similar. It's that paddle shape. It could be a bit longer because he's really stretching out to run. That's my paper dropping on the floor. And this one is very similar. It's just a paddle shape as well. So we've had a go at drawing the two different duck shapes. And so what we're going to start doing now is we're going to start putting the whole picture together, but we're still practicing. So don't draw this onto your sheet of watercolour paper just yet. Now, before we do the next bit, I just want to explain to you about what you're going to be painting on. You can see here that my picture is quite big, and if you've bought your kit from Artshed, you will have got a sheet of paper this size, and this is called A2. If you don't have that size, that's okay. You could do it on A3. So obviously it's quite a bit smaller and it just might be a little bit more fiddly, but it's fine. And you might also notice that round my sheet of paper, I've got a white border. And what I've done before I started painting, in fact, before I started drawing, I got some masking tape and I taped it all around the edge of my sheet of watercolour paper. So obviously if you do that round an A3, you might end up with quite a small painting. So you might want to decide if you want to do that or not. So when I come to do my demonstration up here, you'll notice I'm not going right to the edge. That is because I've got tape on it. So I just wanted to explain that. So this time you need to make sure that your paper is landscape. So that's this way round, not this way round. And try and have the biggest sheet of paper that you've got so that you can start to learn to do things the size that you want them on your real piece of paper. If you've got one of these sheets, you could always practice on the back and then do the real thing on the front. To start our drawing, it's going to be really helpful to put in some lines to help us work out where to put everything. So the first line that we're going to put in is a line just down here so that we know what our ducks are running on. So that's the path. So to do that, what I'd like you to do is just, I don't know, maybe it's almost the height of your little finger, but obviously we've got different sizes. Just go up a little bit from the bottom of your sheet of paper, put in a little mark. Now I'm using a black Sharpie pen. You should be using a pencil. I'm just using this so you can see me drawing. I'm going to put a mark in the other side. So I'm going to imagine my straight line going across and put a mark in there. Your line doesn't need to be completely straight. You don't need to use a ruler. And just do a line going across. It can be slightly wibbly wobbly. It's only the bottom of the path. Now we also want to give ourselves a chance to know how high our ducks are going to be, because we don't want to find our ducks are tiddly and they're all down there. So this fence post here is quite a useful marker. Can you see that his head is above the fence post? So I'm going to put in this fence post here because that's going to help me know how tall I want my duck. So that is roughly halfway up my sheet of paper. So just about halfway, I'm going to make the top of a fence post, which is like a little, like the roof of a house. And I'm going to make it go, I don't want it to go all the way down to that, I want it to go to the back of my path, which is going to be about here. So I'm going to put a line in there and then draw one fence post. I only want one fence post. I don't want to put the rest in because my ducks are in front of the fence. So we're going to draw the fence later after we've done our ducks. So one more line we can put in now that's going to be helpful later on is this one here. So this is, I guess it's the wall to the back of the pond. Now, because I'm using a Sharpie pen, I might not go all the way across because I don't want a Sharpie pen to go across this bit. But with a pencil, you can just make it go all the way across because you can rub the pencil out. So again, from the top of your fence post to the top of your page, you're going to go almost roughly halfway again. Put in another mark. And imagine now that at this point, if you've got a ruler, that's fine, you can use a ruler. You're going to imagine going right across and always helpful to have a mark where you're going. Okay, and that's when you draw a line, it will help you draw it straighter. I'm also going to have one underneath, so I'm going to give myself a little marker underneath. That's for the bottom of the wall. And then I'm going to draw across. Now I'm going to stop there. You see mine's getting very wibbly wobbly because I'm drawing on the side. So I've just left a gap there for my house, but you don't need to because you can rub out with your pencil. Those are all the lines we need for now. So now's the time for you to put your ducks into your picture. So have a go at drawing them along here, and don't forget that your daddy duck or your tallest ducks, their heads should really be above your fence post. I've got my ducks in my picture now. You can see them all here, and hopefully you've managed to put your ducks in your picture as well. So remember the lines that we had? We had that one, we had the post, and we had the lines up here. So the next part is to put in the fence. And the fence sits behind our ducks, so we need to be quite careful not to draw across our ducks now. So the best way to do your fence is to think about where you want to put your fence posts. Put them in first, so maybe if I put a couple in, so I've got one there, so I'm going to put one about here. And again, it's like the roof of a house, and then a plank of wood going down. Now, one thing I forgot actually, before we do that, we need to do one more line. And that's this one here, because I realise that's going to help us know where our fence posts stop. So let's put that one in. So that is, if we remember the bottom of this fence post, that's going to go from here right across behind our duck. So let's put a line in just here so we know where we're going. And this will be a good practice to make sure we don't draw across our ducks. So here's the line. See, as soon as I get to my duck, I need to stop. So this is the line for the back of my path. See, I'm not drawing across my ducks. Okay, there we go. That's going to help me know how tall my fence posts are going to be. So I've got one there, so I want one about here. So don't forget you're drawing behind your duck, so whenever you hit your duck, you've got to stop. These can be wibbly wobbly because planks of wood are always wibbly wobbly. And then the next bit, all we're doing is we're putting the planks of wood to join them together. So don't rush, spend some time working on your fence, and then we'll start looking at how we draw our duck house. In a minute, we're going to zoom in and you'll be able to watch me draw the duck house a little bit closer. But just before we do, just have a quick look at where the island is, where it's sitting. It's on the lake and it's now a little bit further away. So we want everything to become a bit smaller in your picture. And we did put in this line, if you remember, this one here. And that's going to be a really helpful line for us now when we work out where to put the duck house, because you can probably just see that the roof is sitting above that line. So let's have a look. You can probably just see I've got a faint pencil outline of my duck house and the island there. That's going to really help me out because I'm drawing at an angle and it's quite tricky. So obviously your duck house can be any design you like. It's helpful to draw the house first and then put the island around it. So if we remember, this line was quite helpful to make sure that our roof. So let me draw my roof in. Now it's got some planks of wood, so I'm going to do another line there. I'm going to draw the front of the house. Now mine's a little bit 3D, so you have to change the angles of your house at the back. Can you see? They're going in a slightly, they're kind of going away from you. And that one comes back down. This one's got a window and a window box, which I might stick some flowers in later, so it's a very posh duck house. They're going to put their door. And then this is the little steps for them to come down. And then my house is on stilts because occasionally their house gets flooded, which doesn't matter too much if you're a duck. So have a go at your house. It might look like it's just floating there in the pond, but that's okay. We'll stick it on an island in a minute. The important thing about the island is that it starts behind your house and then it gets wider. You can probably just see the pencil outline. So watch me do mine and then you can do yours. Kind of wibbles and it's wider at the front. And then I had some bushes on mine. So we've got our duck house and our island. So let's now put some trees in the background. Now, if you can draw the letter Y, you can draw the trees quite easily. So again, I've got my faint pencil outline to help me out here. So you can decide how many trees you want. I'm going to put my first one in and see if you can see what I mean when I say it looks like the letter Y. So here's my, that's nice and easy, there's my tree trunk. Now it's going to have some branches coming out, but they're going to start heading over this way. There's one going in that direction and another one coming off. Now you can probably already see the letter Y. Now don't forget your branches need a top and a bottom, so I'm going to make sure I give this branch a top, but I'm going to stop when I think it's going to hit the tree trunk. Let's do it with that one. There you go, so I've stopped, and then this trunk is going to keep growing up, and I'll put it in there. Let's do that one more time. So there's my tree trunk. Now each one of mine is different. And then I've got a branch coming up it there, one coming off it there, and then don't forget it needs a top, and stop when you get to the trunk, and then the tree keeps growing. So we're going to have a row of those going along there, but before we do the rest of them, let's just put the ones in for our island here, because we don't want to find that we've gone across. So again, the same sort of thing. Let's do our Y-shaped tree trunk. So I've got one poking behind the house here. So there's my tree trunk coming up behind the house, and its branches coming off. There's the top of the branch, and then there's the bit that keeps growing. I'm going to stop it there, because I'm going to put in the curvy shapes that are going to make up later on. It's going to be a blossom tree. So if you've ever had a stick of candy floss, kind of looks a bit like this. Lots of smiley shapes, or rainbows, or the letter C. Quite an easy shape to do. So you can see I've just overlapped them to create that puffy shape. So I'm going to put two more of those in. Now I can go back to putting the rest of these ones in. nearly there. We're just going to put in some bushes, and then you might want to give your ducks some clothes to wear, and then you'll be ready to have a go at drawing the whole thing onto your sheet of watercolour paper. The bushes are just going to be a series of rainbow shapes, all overlapping and sometimes joining together, almost like sort of puffy clouds. So nearly there, just going to put a few clothes on my duck. They're going running, so they've got their running gear on. So it's all over to you now to go away and draw this picture onto your sheet of watercolour paper. And don't forget, if you want to put the masking tape around your paper, now's the time to do it before you start drawing and before you start painting. And then at the end, we can peel it off and it will leave this lovely white frame around your picture. Once you've done your pencil drawing, you can outline everything in a black permanent marker or Sharpie pen. Just make sure it is a permanent marker, because if it's not, you don't want to find that when you put water onto your pen, the ink bleeds everywhere. So good luck, and I'll see you in the second half.